The distress signal wasn't supposed to exist. Captain Elias Wren of the ISS Horizon frowned at the ancient data stream flickering on his console. The message had traveled through hundreds of light years, bouncing off derelict relay stations and abandoned satellites, some older than human spacefaring history itself. But it wasn't the age of the signal that chilled him. It was the message. Do not approach Earth. They guard something worse. The bridge fell into a tense silence as the words pulsed in harsh red across the holographic display. For a moment, Elias thought it had to be a joke, some old piece of interstellar graffiti from the early days of galactic exploration. But as his science officer, Dr. Mira Solin, ran the signal through decryption protocols, the truth became undeniable. This wasn't from one source. It was from dozens, no hundreds of extinct civilizations. Captain, Myra's voice was barely a whisper, her eyes wide as she turned to him. This signal, it's been left by every dead civilization we've ever catalogued. The Zwartach, the Yulkari, even the Valax Empire. All of them. The same warning. Elias's jaw tightened. That's impossible. Earth was isolated for centuries after the Exodus. No one even knew about humanity until we joined the Galactic Council. Mira shook her head, her face pale. And yet they all knew. They knew about Earth. And they all died leaving the same message. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The ISS Horizon was on a routine diplomatic mission. A simple assignment to check in with fringe colonies along the Persian Arm. Earth was just a nostalgic waypoint, a relic of humanity's past. After the Exodus, most humans had abandoned their cradle, leaving behind only a sparse population of historians, preservationists, and stubborn survivalists. So why was this signal surfacing now? We should alter our course, Lieutenant Harris suggested, his voice tight with unease. If there's even a chance this warning is legitimate? No, Elias cut him off sharply. We don't run from ghosts. This could be a hoax, a remnant from some ancient war. We need answers. But deep down, Elias felt it, that gnawing unease in his gut. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. The ISS Horizon breached the Sol system's edge 3 days later. What they found defied every law of nature and logic. Earth was intact, but the space around it wasn't. Dozens of ships, ancient and alien, floated lifeless in orbit. Hulking carcasses of once mighty fleets, their hulls scarred by weapons far beyond anything humanity had developed. Some were reduced to twisted metal, others eerily preserved as if frozen in time. What in the name of the stars? Harris breathed, his voice trailing off as the ship's scanner struggled to categorize the wreckage. Those are the Lax dreadnoughts, Mira whispered, her fingers flying over her console. And there's a Yulkari war cruiser. That's impossible. These ships disappeared millennia *** ago. Elias stared at the chaos outside, his mind reeling. The Galactic Council's archives held countless stories of vanished civilizations, empires that rose and fell, often without explanation. But to see their remains here orbiting Earth was beyond comprehension. Sir, the comms officer's voice broke the tense silence, we're receiving a signal from Earth. It's old. Extremely old. But it's on a human frequency. Elias snapped out of his daze. Put it through. The bridge filled with static and then a voice, ragged, ancient but unmistakably human. You should not have come. The crew exchanged horrified glances as the message repeated, over and over, like a mantra etched into the fabric of space itself. You should not have come. Elias's mouth went dry. This is Captain Elias Wren of the ISS Horizon Star. Identify yourself. Silence. Then, a final message, barely a whisper through the static. It's waking up. The transmission cut off. Myra's face drained of color. Captain, there's something under the surface of Earth. It's massive. I'm picking up faint energy signatures. Nothing like we've ever seen. It's ancient. Older than Earth itself. Elias swallowed hard, the pieces clicking into place in his mind. The warnings. The dead civilizations. The derelict fleets. Earth wasn't a cradle of life. It was a prison. And humanity? They were the unwitting wardens. A low, rumbling vibration shuddered through the horizon. The crew barely had time to react before the sensors screamed in alarm. Something beneath Earth's surface was moving. And it was waking up. The ISS Horizon trembled as if the very fabric of space was rejecting their presence. Captain. The energy readings are spiking. It's coming from Earth's core. Dr. Mira Solin's voice cracked with disbelief. The holographic display in front of her pulsed with colors no human technology could fully interpret, the patterns shifting into forms that made Elias's skin crawl. Elias gripped the armrest of his chair, his knuckles white. Get us out of orbit. Now. But it was already too late. A blinding pulse of light erupted from the planet's surface, cascading through the void like a shockwave. The derelict ships orbiting Earth disintegrated in an instant. Vessels that had survived for millennia reduced to cosmic dust. The horizon shook violently, alarms blaring as the shields strained against the unknown force. "We're losing structural integrity?" Lieutenant Harris shouted over the cacophony. "I've never seen anything like this. It's not a weapon, it's something else." Elias forced his mind to focus, even as fear clawed at his thoughts. "Divert all power to shields and engines. We need distance." The ship groaned as it struggled against the gravitational pull emanating from Earth. But it wasn't natural gravity, it was as if the planet itself had become a beacon, anchoring them in place. Then the ground beneath Earth's surface split apart. The crew watched in horror as a colossal structure emerged from the planet's crust, tearing through mountains and oceans like they were paper. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even a machine in the traditional sense. It was alive. A massive, serpentine entity, its body shimmering with an iridescent sheen that defied the spectrum of light. Its form was both organic and mechanical, as if ancient technology had fused with something far older and far more malevolent. Myra's voice was barely a whisper. "Captain, that thing, it's older than the universe. The readings don't make sense. It's not just a life form. It's a force of nature." Elias couldn't tear his eyes away from the monstrosity unfolding before them. What the hell were we guarding? The entity turned its gaze toward the horizon, and for the briefest of moments, Elias felt its consciousness brush against his own, an overwhelming flood of emotions, thoughts, and something else. Something ancient and hungry. He knew them. The ship's AI screamed a warning, snapping Elias out of his trance. "Captain, it's targeting us," Harris shouted, his hands flying over the controls. "We can't break free, we're locked in its gravitational field." "Fire everything we've got," Elias ordered, his voice hoarse. Missiles, plasma bursts, and railgun rounds launched from the horizon, streaking through space toward the entity. But as the weapons made contact, they simply vanished, absorbed into the creature's body without a trace. It responded with a pulse of dark energy, unlike anything Elias had ever witnessed. The wave ripped through the ship's shields, sending the horizon spiraling out of control. Hull breaches on multiple decks. "We're not going to make it," Harris yelled. Elias's mind raced. They needed a way to survive, but how do you escape something that wasn't meant to be contained in the first place? Then Mira gasped. "Captain, there's another signal. It's coming from Earth, from beneath the creature." Elias frowned. "Put it through." Static filled the bridge, and then a voice, calm, measured, and unmistakably human. "This is Earth Command. Do not engage. We have one chance to put it back." Elias's heart pounded. "Earth Command? How?" The voice cut through the static again. "Your presence has accelerated the awakening, but we can still contain it. You must follow our coordinates exactly. Do not deviate. Do not question. Or we all die." The message repeated, and for the first time Elias noticed something chilling. The voice, it was old. Not just in tone but in time. It sounded like it had been recorded centuries ago, yet it was reacting in real time to their situation. "Captain," Mira whispered, "if we don't trust them, we're dead. But if we do, we might just be part of something far bigger than we understand." Elias clenched his fists, staring at the looming entity as it began to stretch its tendrils toward the stars. "Follow their instructions," he ordered. "And pray we're not too late." As the horizon adjusted its course, diving toward Earth's atmosphere, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't just trying to survive. They were about to learn the terrible price humanity had paid to guard something worse, and whether they could pay it again. The ISS Horizon plunged into Earth's atmosphere, its hull groaning under the immense pressure. The sky burned around them, streaks of fire licking the ship's exterior as Elias gritted his teeth, his hands gripping the armrests like a lifeline. "Shields at 23%. Harris yelled, his voice nearly drowned out by the ship's alarms. "We're coming in too hot. Hold it together." Elias barked back. They had no choice but to follow Earth Command's coordinates, blindly trusting a voice that sounded like it had been plucked from another era. Myra's eyes were locked on the data streaming across her console. "We're heading toward the Antarctic region. There's a massive energy signature beneath the ice. Captain, this isn't just a base, it's something else." Before Elias could respond, the ship's thrusters roared to life, stabilizing their descent as they pierced through the thick cloud cover. The alien entity in orbit let out a pulse that rippled through the sky, darkening the horizon as if the sun itself recoiled from its presence. They broke through the storm to find a sprawling facility buried within the ice, ancient yet still functional. Towering spires jutted from the frozen landscape, humming with power that predated human history. "What the hell is that place?" Harris muttered, his eyes wide. Myra's voice trembled. "I think it's not human. Or at least it wasn't built by the humans we know." The ship shuddered as it landed, the engines whining in protest. The moment the ramp lowered, the bitter cold blasted into the cabin, but Elias barely felt it. He was too focused on the figures approaching through the swirling snow. Humans. But these weren't the Earth historians or survivalists he'd expected. They were clad in sleek, advanced armor that shimmered with the same iridescent light as the entity orbiting above. Their faces were obscured by helmets, but their movements were precise, almost mechanical. One of them stepped forward, removing their helmet to reveal a face that defied time, weathered, yet untouched by age. Her eyes were cold and calculating, like someone who'd seen the universe's darkest corners and returned unscathed. "Captain Elias Wren," she greeted, her voice matching the one from the transmission. "I am Commander Arya Voss, Earth Command. Follow me. There is no time." Elias exchanged glances with Mira and Harris before nodding. They descended the ramp, their boots crunching against the ice as they followed Arya into the heart of the facility. The walls pulsed with alien symbols, glowing faintly as they passed. The air grew heavier, charged with an energy that made Elias's skin prickle. "What is this place?" Elias finally asked. Arya didn't slow her pace. "A containment facility. Built long before your ancestors learned to walk upright. Earth wasn't chosen as humanity's cradle by accident. It was a cage." Myra's eyes widened. "For that thing?" Arya stopped at a massive door, placing her hand on a scanner. The metal groaned as it slid open, revealing a vast chamber bathed in eerie blue light. At its center stood a colossal obelisk, its surface covered in the same shifting patterns as the entity in orbit. "That thing," Arya said, "is called the Erebus. It's not just a life form, it's a cosmic anomaly. A fragment of the universe's primordial chaos, older than time itself. Every civilization that discovered it tried to harness its power. Every civilization failed. And every civilization died." Elias felt the weight of her words settle over him like a suffocating blanket. "But Earth survived. Why?" Arya's expression hardened. "Because we didn't try to control it. We were chosen to guard it, to ensure it never escaped. Your ancestors made a pact, sacrificing their technological advancement to keep the Erebus imprisoned. That's why Earth's history is littered with lost knowledge, unexplained collapses. Every time we advanced too far, we risked waking it up." Myra's voice was barely a whisper. "But we left Earth, the Exodus." Arya nodded grimly. "And that's when the problems began. Without humanity's presence here, the seal weakened. And now, your arrival has accelerated its awakening." A deafening rumble echoed through the chamber, and the obelisk began to crack, tendrils of dark energy seeping through the fissures. "We don't have much time," Arya said, her voice steely. "There's a protocol, a final failsafe. But it requires a human connection to the Erebus, someone who can interface with its consciousness and rebind the seal." Elias's heart sank. "And let me guess, that someone is me?" Arya met his gaze. "You're the first off-world human to return in centuries. Your genetic code is untainted by the modifications the rest of humanity has undergone. You're our only chance." The ground trembled, and above them, the Erebus's monstrous form darkened the sky, its tendrils reaching toward the stars. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the weight of countless dead civilizations pressing down on him. "What happens if I fail?" Arya's eyes were cold. "Then Earth falls. And the universe follows." As Elias stepped toward the obelisk, its dark energy curling around him like a serpent, he realized this was never about survival. It was about sacrifice. And humanity had been guarding that truth all along. The obelisk pulsed with a rhythm that felt like a heartbeat, but it wasn't Elias's. It belonged to the Erebus, the ancient force now stirring from its eternal prison beneath Earth's surface. The tendrils of dark energy coiled tighter around him, whispering in a language older than stars, promising power, knowledge, and immortality. But Elias knew better. Every civilization before humanity had heard those whispers. They had all fallen. His steps echoed in the vast chamber as he approached the obelisk's cracked surface. The alien symbols shifted, twisting into patterns that made his head throb with unbearable pressure. His vision blurred, and for a moment he saw destruction. Worlds burning. Stars snuffed out like candles. Entire galaxies collapsing into voids of nothingness, consumed by the hunger of the Erebus. And then a voice, familiar, grounding. Elias. Myra's voice cut through the chaos, anchoring him. You have to fight it. Don't let it in. Elias clenched his jaw, pushing back against the invasive thoughts. He wasn't going to be another pawn in this cosmic game. He had a job to do. What do I have to do? He shouted over his shoulder at Arya, whose face remained unreadable. Place your hand on the obelisk and focus on who we are, Arya instructed, her voice steady despite the growing tremors shaking the chamber. Humanity's willpower, our defiance, that's what keeps the Erebus sealed. But it has to be pure. No fear. No doubt. No pressure, Elias thought grimly. He took a deep breath, stepping closer until his palm hovered just above the cold, pulsating surface of the obelisk. The tendrils of energy recoiled slightly, sensing his resistance. The whispers grew louder, more desperate. You could be more. You could save them all. Just let me in. Elias slammed his hand down. Pain exploded through his body. His mind was pulled into a vortex of memories, both his own and those of countless beings across time, emperors, warriors, scholars, all who had tried and failed to control the Erebus. He saw their rise and fall, their civilizations turned to dust. But beneath it all he felt something else. Humanity. The laughter of children on Earth's surface. The perseverance of explorers charting unknown stars. The defiance of rebels standing against tyranny. The compassion of strangers helping each other in times of need. This was who they were. Elias latched onto those feelings, channeling them through his very soul. The Erebus screamed, not in sound but in raw, psychic agony, as it felt the unyielding force of humanity's spirit pressing against it. The obelisk began to glow, its cracks sealing as the dark energy receded. The chamber's tremors subsided, and the monstrous form of the Erebus in orbit let out a final guttural roar before collapsing into itself, pulled back into the prison it had nearly escaped. The silence that followed was deafening. Elias collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. Mira rushed to his side, her face etched with concern. You did it, she whispered, helping him to his feet. Arya approached, her expression finally softening. You succeeded where countless others failed. The Erebus is sealed, for now. But this isn't over. It never is. Elias met her gaze, exhaustion battling with a newfound determination. Then we keep guarding it. We make sure no one else wakes it up. Arya nodded. That's the price of survival. Humanity wasn't chosen to thrive, we were chosen to endure. The ISS Horizon lifted off from Earth's surface hours later, its crew forever changed by what they had witnessed. The Galactic Council would never understand the truth, because they couldn't. Humanity's role wasn't just as explorers, diplomats, or warriors. They were the universe's last line of defense against the worst it had to offer. And as long as Earth stood, the Erebus would remain sealed. For now. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic tales of human resilience and cosmic mysteries. *** Rocket Sparkles. Got thoughts about what humanity might be guarding next? Drop a comment below and let's discuss. And remember, sometimes the greatest threats aren't out there in the stars, they're right here waiting beneath our feet. Prohibited globe showing Europe, Africa.